I saw a prediction that XRP could gain $1 trillion in market value practically overnight. Now, I nearly laughed it off at first, but then I saw the numbers for myself. Now, of course, I'm seriously wondering, could XRP actually hit double digits soon? You see, a few days ago, the crypto world lit up with the news of the first ever XRP ETF that was approved. And that was right. A fund called Canary Capital's XRP ETF, ticker XRPC, it got the green light to list on the Nasdaq. Now, that was making history for the first XRP ETF, right? The true one. Now, for the XRP community, the famous XRP army, this was a pretty huge moment. Right? We're finally seeing institutional investors get an easy route into XRP, and people are understandably excited about it. And here is the kicker. It's not just one ETF. There are actually several XRP ETFs reportedly in the pipeline, set to launch all around the same time. Now, more ETFs means potentially even more money waiting on the sidelines, ready to jump in once they go live. Then I came across a rather bold analysis from an XRP commentator called Zach Rector, right? Now, he's basically said that these new XRP ETFs, they might send XRP's market cap through the roof. And a lot of people ask, how high then? And in his breakdown, Zach actually outlined two different scenarios. In a kind of more conservative case, XRP could gain around $500 billion in value, which would put the price at around the $10 to $11 per coin. And in a more bullish case, we're looking at around a $1 trillion market cap, potentially nudging XRP to around $19 to $20 range. Now that sounds pretty good, right? Pretty insane, I know. I was also quite skeptical about this. So I've seen, plenty of wild crypto predictions that, well, never really planned out. So this time though, the math kind of makes a bit of sense. Now you've got to keep in mind, right? Those $10 to $20 price targets are based purely on potential ETF inflows, right? They don't even really factor in the extra demand from XRP's real world utility in payments and liquidity. So if XRP's usage around the world also increases alongside all of the ETF hype, well, the upside could be even greater. So why could an ETF pump so much money into XRP, you're thinking? Well, think about how actually you might buy an ETF, right? This is institutional and retirement investors, big university endowments, hedge funds, basically the big money that often can't buy or won't buy crypto on the regular exchanges. Now, an ETF is like a bridge that lets these heavy hitters invest in XRP much easier through their normal brokerage accounts, right? So suddenly, a whole new class of investors can pour cash into XRP. Now, Zach expects somewhere between $5 and $10 billion of new capital that could flow into XRP via these ETFs within the first year, maybe even within the first month or two. And get this, Nasdaq has already certified the listing for the XRP ETF, and trading is about to start. So this isn't some far-fetched theory, it is happening right now. So here is where it gets really interesting, because when an ETF launches, the people running it, the issue is they need to actually buy the underlying asset. Now, in this case, that's XRP. Now, to at least back all of those ETF shares, right? Now, they usually start with just a small stash of XRP. They call that the seed capital. And then, investors buy into the ETF. The issuers have to go out and purchase a lot more XRP on the open market to meet that demand. In other words, if billions of dollars start flowing into an XRP ETF, well, the fund managers would be scrambling to buy billions, in fact, worth of XRP from the exchanges. Now, that can that kind of sudden buying pressure, it can send the price soaring. Just saw a glimpse of this with the most recent Solana ETF launch too. It started with about $200 million in seed capital and ended up around $300 million of trading volume on just day one. Now, the excitement, it was real, and the price Solana reacted accordingly. Now, imagine a similar frenzy for XRP. Zach calls this the multiplier effect. It's basically when a relatively small inflow of money causes a much larger increase in market capitalization. Now, we have a perfect example from Bitcoin, right? After the first ever spot Bitcoin ETFs went live, roughly $62 billion flowed into BTC through those funds. But Bitcoin's total market cap grew by $1 $0.76 trillion. And yes, that was about a 28x multiplier. So every $1 of ETF money actually translated into $28 of value in the market. Sounds pretty crazy, right? But it is math. Sounds like magic, but no, it did actually happen. Now, Bitcoin is a big dog. So seeing that kind of effect for XRP, which is smaller, could get even wilder because XRP's market cap is so much lower than that of Bitcoin, right? It has more room to run if new money does come in fast. Now, Zach speculates that XRP might get a 100x or even a 200x multiplier. Even if we take the low end of that range, let's say 100x effect, then $5 billion in ETF inflows could potentially be around $500 billion to market cap value, and $10 billion could add around $1 trillion. So pushing XRP into that kind of $10 to $20 zone that we talked about. Now, this is it's kind of like a tiny spark, I guess, igniting a huge bonfire of demand. Now, before we all start daydreaming about Lamborghini shopping, let me drop a reality check. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, so we've heard the bullish case. Am I saying that it's going to be guaranteed? Definitely not. Even Zach, with all of his optimism in the world, acknowledged that nothing is certain in the world of crypto. A great example is what happened with Ethereum, right? When the first Ethereum ETFs launched in mid-2024, everyone thought that ETH might go on an absolute tear. But a year later, Ethereum's market cap had actually barely moved. It went from around $412 billion to around $425 billion, essentially just flat, despite those ETFs attracting roughly $13 billion in investments. In other words, the net new money just matched the net growth. There was no crazy multiplier for ETH. This is probably because there was a lot of sell pressure selling into those, right? You have $13 billion going in, probably $13 billion also flowed out, so you net neutral. So why didn't Ethereum's ETF spark a bigger rally, you might be thinking? Well, it could be that Ethereum's market was already pretty massive, so even billions of inflows were just like a drop in the bucket. But more likely it was that the ETH Foundation was probably dumping into those inflows. Someone's profiting from all of that, right? Because money's only ever transferred, it's never made, right? The takeaway is that even with very positive news, it doesn't guarantee a price explosion if there is equal sell pressure to the new demand coming in. So, to summarize that, not every crypto ETF release is going to be followed by a moonshot, is it? So, it's wise to keep our expectations grounded. XRP could follow Bitcoin's explosive path, or it might be more like Ethereum with a whole ton of sell pressure suppressing the price. Just a modest climb maybe in the end. Now, it might even do something in between, right? Now, we need to be prepared for any outcome. Personally, though, I'm leaning on the bullish side here because unlike Ethereum and some other altcoins, there are a lot of XRP ETFs in the pipeline here. Because even if an immediate reaction is rather mild, I think the very fact that XRP now has a pipeline for institutional money is a game changer altogether. We've never really had that before. Remember, just a couple of years ago, XRP was battling a lawsuit that was even delisted from some of the major exchanges in the United States. Back then, even dreaming of an ETF was kind of off the table, right? Now, XRP is being welcomed into mainstream finance. And it's kind of like XRP was a coiled spring just during all of those lawsuit years, and now that tension is finally looking to release. Now, in my view, these XRP ETFs will be huge over time. Not all at once, but gradually, right? And I see big money boosting XRP's valuations as the months go by. Let me share how I'm planning to navigate this potential new era of XRP, right? Because first off, I'm not making any rash moves here. I do hold XRP and I do hold it with conviction. And these ETF developments just reinforce my confidence in XRP. But I also have to remember that volatility can get pretty crazy. That's why I always have to emphasize having a plan and being prepared rather than just FOMOing in or out on the emotions alone. One practical thing that I do, and I recommend to everybody really, is to have multiple exchange accounts at the ready. Now I treat this like like having plan A, plan B, plan C for trading or cashing out. For instance, during the 2021 bull run, I remember Bitcoin spiking and one popular exchange app just wasn't loading for me at the worst possible moment. It was, I was there just frantically trying to sell and I just couldn't log in, right? After that particular nightmare, I vowed to never rely on a single platform ever again. If there is one thing that I've learned from past crypto bull markets, is that exchanges can get overwhelmed or even go down at the worst possible time. Imagine XRP starts shooting up and one exchange, the one exchange that you use all the time, suddenly just freezes, withdraws, or even crashes. Now, you don't want to be stuck in that situation. I've seen it happen before, and it's just not fun watching the price skyrocket and being unable to do anything about it because, well, your exchange is effectively offline. So I made sure to make sure that I'm signed up, I've KYC verified, and I'm familiar with several different platforms. Right, so if exchange number 1 has an issue, I can move over to exchange number 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, right? Now, all exchanges that I do personally use are actually listed on my website, and there's a link for that down in the description down below. And on my website, where all of those exchanges that I do actually use, I have links to them, and those are affiliate links, which means if you do sign up, using those links, it actually supports the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. But I want to emphasize, these are platforms that I have vetted and trust with my own funds. I don't just list any old garbage exchange on there. These are genuine exchanges that I have accounts with. Now, that list includes some pretty big names and even a couple of newcomers that I have been testing out a lot lately, things like Blowfin and BitGet, for example. But here is full disclosure as always, right? Any mention of some of these exchanges like Blowfin, BitGet, Kraken, etc. is indeed through my affiliate links, and they are listed in the description and of course on the website, which support the channel here at no extra cost to yourselves. And I'm mentioning this because it really does actually mean an awful lot to this channel. So if you do spend the time to go over to the website and sign up to any of those exchanges using those links, I want to say a big thank you to you because you are really making this channel possible. Now, I bring them up now because having multiple exchange options is just a part of my strategy, and maybe it's something that you'll find helpful too. Now, speaking of exchanges, I've also partnered up with Kraken to give you a pretty awesome opportunity to grab some extra XRP. But here is the deal. If you sign up to Kraken using my link that you'll find in the description down below, and you trade at least $100 worth of any cryptocurrency excluding stablecoins within 30 days of opening your account, well, Kraken will credit you with $25 in XRP for free. Yeah, $25 worth of XRP for just doing a trade that you might have done anyway. Now, this is a limited time offer, so if you are interested, definitely check it out sooner rather than later. I have all the details linked in the description down below, and the terms and conditions are also there. They do apply, and you have to really go into that fine print because not every jurisdiction is going to be eligible here. Full disclosure, of course, the link that's in the description, this partnership with Kraken, is via my affiliate link. So it does support the channel here as well. Now, I honestly think it is a win-win situation. You get a bit of free XRP and you also get another exchange account that fits that backup plan strategy. Now, stepping back for a second, what a time to be involved with XRP, right? We've got real institutional products launching, potential for massive capital inflows, a community that's more energized than ever before. I feel like we're at the start of a brand new chapter. One, at least no one can actually predict the future, of course, and I'm not here to pretend that I have a crystal ball because I don't. Maybe XRP will hit $10. Maybe it will take longer than we think. Maybe it'll blow past $20. Anything is truly possible. But one thing is for sure, XRP's story is getting a lot more interesting. And honestly, it feels, at least I feel lucky to be witnessing this moment, I guess. Whether you're holding XRP for years or you're new to it completely, it's pretty incredible to see XRP stepping into Wall Street's arena. Something big is unfolding and, you know what? We're here for it. Now, I'm going to keep on sharing my own journey here through this unfolding story, the good, the bad, and of course the absurd, such as $50,000 XRP, right? And if you want to explore these ideas or ask questions directly, you can join the free Discord. The link is in the description down below. It's a great place to learn, share ideas, and stay in the loop with our community. Now, if you want to come along for the ride and stay updated with everything as everything evolves, then you know what to do. Hit that like button and the subscribe button because you won't want to miss what's coming next for XRP.